Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the O Show Podcast, episode 411. We are brought to you by Mayweather Boxing and Fitness in Scottsdale, Arizona. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness offers an authentic experience for those who want to learn from Floyd Money Mayweather's techniques and training regimens. Again, opening up soon. They don't have an official start date yet for their grand opening, but be on the lookout for the grand opening as well as VIP week coming up in just a matter of weeks. We're also sponsored by betonline.ag. Sign up for that 50% bonus this week. NFL Week 3 coming your way. Again, that 50% bonus at betonline.ag. We got a special show for you today on episode 411 of the podcast. Chris Duffin, you have a lot on your resume, man.
Well, it'll give us a lot of things to talk about. We've got a million different avenues we can go down.
So here's a little bit of the resume. Only person in the world that has squatted and deadlifted 1,000 pounds and actually did them for reps. That's true.
Yep.
And you work with, the founder of Kabuki Strength, which you started as a business now. You're working with 29 of 30 Major League Baseball teams. The Rock, Chris Hemsworth, just to name a few people. There he is using some of your equipment right there. But, I've listened to some of the interviews you've done, whether it be with my guy who connected me with you, Jeff Lopes. I watched your interview with Bradley as well.
That's our bar right in the back there. Yep.
That is insane, man. And again, like you going through everything, I know you've done a ton of interviews talking about it. There's some of your equipment right there that you specialized. But starting out, I kind of want to talk about and pick your brain about it. Not too much because, again, you have talked about it a lot. Your childhood, growing up in the woods. I know you've talked about growing up, 50 miles north of Murder Mountain and going through everything that you went through as a child.
Yeah.
Can you?
It was actually deeper and more remote than the Murder Mountain area. So, but that's
good.
That's the environment that we lived in. It was unique. I'll do the Reader's Digest version, but my parents, mostly my mom, just didn't want to be a part of normal society. Decided to forge her own path and go out on her own. And that involved moving up into the mountains. And really, she was trying to, create a sustainable life from that. And we grew up in my early years, essentially, either homesteading, living in tents, 6 years old. I'm being taught how to capture and then handle and kill live rattlesnakes because that's the environment. We've got beams lashed up in the trees because that's where we're sleeping. Because of the rattlesnakes, my sisters are being born at the time. It was just a wild and wacky area. And then, we ended up going further north. We were in north of the Bay Area to start with. And then we ended up in just a little bit deeper than the Humboldt, just over the Humboldt line. Like I said, we're by the Murder Mountain area. And that's where things like in these stories, like when other people are hiding out from the world, sometimes it's not for altruistic reasons, right? They're doing so because they're trying to, hide from something. So you're interacting with murderers. There's obviously, if you watch that documentary, you're dealing with drug running, drug abuse. And then there was dealing with the issues with being taken by the state, and the state being corrupt, and human trafficking, and just all sorts of wacky stuff that really created a unique environment. But in the midst of all that, education was like the growth of the mental development and physical development and those sorts of things were just like really key to my family.
Right.
They were very intelligent people. If we didn't have a TV or a radio a lot of times, but the library, books, like that's what we did. We'd go into, the big town like once a month. And by big town, I mean, maybe a town of like, drive for an hour or so, 2 hours, get to it. And you've got the town of 5,000 people, but we would just get stacks and stacks of books. And that's, reading by candlelight, reading by flashlight. And then in later years, parents got us back after we were taken by the state for a while. and ended up in Oregon, and they got out of the drug trade. That's why we were in that area. My parents were growing weed for a living. This is in the
Right.
the 1980s, and there's, like I said, there's people running around with machine guns. There's corrupt police. There's all sorts of stuff. So, but after that experience, they didn't want to have the chance of losing us again. So we ended up in Oregon, and they went out of that, but still didn't want to be part of the normal world, and so it was more got into mining and prospecting, and
Wow.
and outside of that, really kind of fell back into the same habits. Family of 6 living in a 16-foot trailer. It's a couple feet of snow. I'm sleeping in the back of a pickup truck. That was high school. We ended up finally getting a double wide mobile home, and there was no kitchen. There was no doors on the inside. I had the little crank shut windows. They wouldn't close all the way, but it had running water, it had electricity, and it was a stable environment, outside of my parents kind of falling further in the decline of, alcohol abuse and mental sanity at that point in time. But it gave me something of a foundation from. So those are the early years. Yeah.
I mean, that is the foundation almost. Like growing up, experiencing all that, and at the same time, that's really all you were exposed to. So I feel like the dynamic shift into society and what you've became now as an entrepreneur, and sharing your story, was it a culture shock? Was it just different? Because again, like it wasn't necessarily a bad childhood for you, but it was all you were exposed to.
It was different. And yeah, I mean, there's stuff that would be defined as traumatic, like, without diving into all that here, it's not enjoyable stuff to talk about, but it certainly wasn't a shift right into entrepreneurship for me by any means. So I was a person that really wanted to prove that, this kid from the sticks could be successful. And security was also kind of big for me, not being able to have a place to go back home to, really. And in fact, I ended up taking custody of my 3 younger siblings while I was going through and finishing my engineering degree. So I went to school for dual engineering, graduated top of my class. I was working full time though. So that's that work ethic stuff. Like I can't remember when I didn't work. So it was either working the claim, working alongside the family growing up. I worked all through high school and college. I worked full time, even though I had, full ride academic scholarship. It was, I needed that level of security. And so, yeah, by 21 years old, I owned my own home. I was working on my second engineering degree. I was working full time as a manager in the manufacturing industry, and I'd started taking custody of my sisters. So it was interesting. And then I did that for a long time. So I got an MBA, and I advanced in the executive world so that I became the person that was doing turnarounds on. At the end, a big one I did this. I turned around this aerospace company. It's a big supplier to Boeing. They were about to fail. I turned around to being, having about ready to lose their contract from quality and delivery to being the #1 supplier in the world in their category for quality and delivery, being unstable financially to, moving in and being financially successful, and then also walking them through a sale process so that we could deal with the the issues with the equity in the company. I was doing that type of stuff. I did that for like 10 years in the automotive, high tech, aerospace worlds. And yeah, I lifted some weights while I was doing all that too. Yeah.
I think our viewers will figure that out pretty quick. Zach, do we have the video of what Chris was doing yesterday? It was, again, like everything that you've done, incredible stuff. But we actually had a video of what you were doing yesterday, what you posted on Instagram, your reel. What is this exactly?
Oh, that's just a little afternoon project. I was building. I got this.
Just an afternoon project?
Yeah. So I was dropping some squat stands onto the flatbed of my truck. So my truck is pretty unique, and I've got a mobile gym set up on it so that I can, if I'm traveling or doing somewhere, or maybe making some marketing material for my barbells, like in an epic location. So I was refining it a little bit, because sometimes you're on the sand or somewhere. I had the squat unfold off the rear of it.
Right.
Now I have it set up so it's on the bed. So it's and then the vehicle behind me is another one I've been building for a long time. That's it it's four-wheel steering. You got a joystick that runs the rear. You can digitally set the air pressure in the tires. It airs up and airs down while you're driving. And it's not on the road yet, but it's getting there. So
Wow, thinking outside the box, man, for sure. That's incredible. I mean, like dating back to high school, you were, I don't want to say the smartest in your class, but you were valedictorian, right? And then you were a wrestler as well. Like you mentioned, you got scholarships for everything that you've done.
I was an overachiever without a doubt. So
would they consider you an overachiever though?
What's that?
Would they consider you an overachiever, those that you were surrounded by? Because like you say you're an overachiever, but at the same time, like everybody has seen your work ethic consistently throughout the years, which has built your credibility, like you're passionate about what you do and everything.
That's one thing. Anytime anybody has any touch with being around me, when they see success, everybody's like, there's just, no question, you earn that, because that's what I do. When times get tough, I work harder. When I need to de-stress, I work. But in a good way. Like a lot of it is around creating the lifestyle and working to create the things that I enjoy in my life. So it's not just like burning the candle at the office, right? So it drives me to have a lot of time with my family and other stuff, but I have to create. That's my outing. And that's really what I missed out of, so I had this wildly successful, by most standards, corporate career, right? So I had this career. I had a house with a white picket fence. I had, a career where I was sought after for doing what I did. I could go anywhere. I made tons of money. It was, by anybody's standards, a great life. And I was looking around at the time going, man, this just doesn't, I'm not happy. It doesn't feel right. What am I missing? And I really love the leadership side, like being able to help people, realize more than that they could accomplish a lot more than they thought. And like, that's how you turn around businesses, is turning around people. But there was just like this big, empty, missing piece. And that was really kind of my creative outlet, my ability to influence the world at a greater level. And I realized that I'm more of an artist than anything, and definitely more of an artist than engineer. I'm not really great at putting a pad to paper. I've got an engineering manager and an engineering team who does all the execution of stuff, but I'm like, these are the ideas, right, and I'm running with it. It's all in my head. Like even a vehicle, I'll build the vehicle from ground up. It's like suspension, chassis, everything. It's all in my head, and it's not very engineering-ish. Right. But I believe entrepreneurship in this day and age is the ultimate form of expression. It's the ultimate form of art, because it's your ability to see the future, right? And be able to express what that future is in what your company and its products, its services, whatever it is, and be able to bring that change into the world itself, as well as being able to create the culture, the community, all these things based on the values that you're presenting. So instead of, putting this stuff into something that is, on a wall somewhere, you're putting that vision, those views, those values actually in place in the world, in products and services, and the impact that you have. I mean, like, I really don't see that there's a greater expression of art than what you can do with entrepreneurship. And I think that's a big miss in a lot of the entrepreneur, like hustle porn type stuff out there, because it's all focused on this dollar, grind, grind, so you can get your Lambo or get your whatever. And it's all about creating, personally, this environment where you have things, you've created money and success, but entrepreneurship or business is a medium. Like that money is a medium for you to enact that change in the world, to create those, those values that you want, that culture that you want, those things that are going to help the world become what you want to see and the influence on that. And that's how you create like legacy. That's how you create lasting change. That's how you do something like real in the world. And we can do that through business. And so, and so, business and money and all this is just, that's a medium for those things. And if you're just in it to have it, one, the the level of like effort and the hardship that you're going to endure to be a successful entrepreneur is not worth it unless it's something truly deeply personal to you. So I really encourage people to dive deep and understand the the whys behind these things that you're wanting to do with it, because it shouldn't be for money, it shouldn't be for prestige, it shouldn't be, and the motivation to do that isn't going to be enough to get you there.
No, and you are the prime example of someone who does what you do because of passion, as well as having the ability to serve others. Because, like you said, if you're doing it for not necessarily money, but for your own personal legacy, that passion is going to fizzle out quick. It's going to burn out quick.
Yeah.
And, like, for you
Those are short-term stuff, like, getting in there, like getting pumped and hit the grind, like it's just, you know, hey, maybe that's going to last a few months, a few years, but man, things are going to get hard, and you gotta persevere through long periods of time and really believe in yourself and why you're doing what you're doing.
I mean, I've heard you talk about multiple times, like you could give one of the greatest inspirational speeches of all time and people still won't follow you. Or you could do this great thing for 2, 3 years and people still won't be inspired by you or be influenced by you. You talk about credibility and building it over time. Because again, like it's the passion aspect that's going to get you there through all of those years of hardship where you question yourself. Like you said, like you left a pretty good life, that some would say, right? Because
Yep.
it finally in your brain, like your brain's telling you, I want more. I need to find the best version of myself. Not just like a good version of yourself, but the
Yep.
version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Yeah, so let's use the old unpack term,
Yeah.
but let's unpack a couple of those things. So one is like, what really was involved with that, making that shift to chase the entrepreneurship, like this amazing career and life that I had wasn't enough. And then the other, let's dive back into this credibility component, because there's so much there that people don't really understand when it comes to really being an effective leader, motivator, or manager. um, so yeah, I had all this stuff and great life, great career. And you know what, I walked away, and oh, by the way, I was also ranked number one in the world for 8 years straight as a power lifter. I was married with 2 kids. I walked away from all of that. I said, "This is, I want to have passion in every aspect of my life, and I'm not willing to accept anymore where I don't have it. And to do that, I have to get alignment. I have to create this environment where I can, yeah, I needed to be able to create this environment, which I mean, bring the people around me, being able to have this in every aspect of my life. So I walked away from my career, quit my job, which is like, okay, anybody can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Launched my business. I sold my home. I sold my second home. I sold my investment property. I sold everything. I took the 401k that I've been building up for 20 years, and I spent all of that, every bit of my bank account. I'm living in an apartment. I walked away from competitive lifting because I'm like, it's not keeping me. I have another vein of approaching that right now. I changed personal relationships. I went through a divorce in the middle of this, and trying to navigate that with keeping my kids at the priority and family at the priority. Man, that's some hard stuff. And I walked away from really every aspect of my life, except for wanting to chase that, keeping, it sounds hypocritical saying keeping family at the center, but me and my ex-wife did a great job in that process, her more than me, at making sure that we were there for the kids and being able to navigate that relationship. But the output of that is I created so much more time and space for my family, for my ability. So what happened is I created this company built around values and what I wanted to do and the positive change to bring in the world, to help people live like a better quality of life to get out of pain and to be able to build resilience, right? And and in so doing, the missing piece is the creativity piece. I'm creating new products. I've got patents. I've got new idea. Like stuff is like I love that, right? And then that is part of my job. My lifting is part of my job. It's no longer secondary, like this thing I have to do after work that's taking away time. And then the people that are attracted, that are starting to come from all over, I'm not recruiting people. They're coming saying, I want to be part of what you're creating. And so I thought I was going to be a single guy. I I also attracted somebody from another country, Canada, not that far away, but came into my life, and I found love for the first time, like passion in a relationship for the first time. It was amazing. Knocked me upside the head at 40 years old. Had a third child, which was my youngest is like she loved. She wanted a younger sister for so long, and now she has a younger sister, and we've got this great environment. My ex-wife, my son just walked over this morning to spend some time with her cats in the morning before he went to school. We're close. I took my lifting. I said, I've walked the walk, but I'm going to create and do events that are things that I'm really passionate about, but also demonstrate like what I'm teaching. And one of those is, around, well, getting out of pain. And the largest global impact within the body is the ability to manage and control spinal mechanics. So pick the squat and the deadlift, and I put these extreme challenges that I was going to go after that are just insane. And I said, I'm going to do that. And I paired it with fundraising for the things that I believe in, but also the bigger piece was inspiring people that they can do crazy things over the top and realize it. So it was titled Grand Goals. And I spent 5 years chasing it. There's going to be a movie about it that comes out next year. There was a documentary being filmed about it. So everything like coalesced and pulled together, and I ended up creating more time to my family. Like I spend 4 or 5 hours a day with my family on work days. I'm there in the morning. I might have lunch. I'm home earlier. I'm like, but I'm working hard, so it's like, but the things that I gave up to get there, like that was years of like really a struggle. And I can't say that it's not struggle today either. You're growing a business as fast as we are. It creates substantial strain on an organization and the needs around it. So,
but that's what makes a great business.
Yeah.
And that's why you've had so many successful big businesses, including Kabuki Strength, which has not only a great product, but a great message and a great story behind it. Because you came up with the name because of the Great Kabuki, right? WWE. That was kind of like
man,
the
you've done some
inspiration behind
research,
it.
yeah. Well, it was a nickname I got from that, but really it came from how it works with the business is it goes straight to those things I was just saying. I need to create the right environment, right? I wanted to be the best that I could be, right? Mm-hmm. And I knew that I needed the right tools, I needed the right methodology, and I needed the right environment, right? And that's what Kabuki does in the the physical realm, right? So we create tools and education around movement, and we create the best content and the best tools to improve biomechanics and again accomplish those goals. And I write a book about motivation. I do videos about it. But at the end of the day, I can say and show and walk the walk and do all these sorts of things, but it's you that have to put your game day face on, right? And it's in every culture, this like warrior mentality of painting face before you go, because it's a shift. It's a transformation that you need to have to become a person that you're not all the time, to pull off, those hard things, to be able to accomplish and protect the tribe or do whatever it is. And in theater, you could, speaking of painting faces, but an old Japanese warrior, there was the Kabuki theater, but there was also the Kabuki warrior mask, right? And even theater, it's the same thing, putting your game day face on. So the Kabuki is right here. This is a rendition of, a face during a squat. Like the mental attitude. I can't put it there for you. You need it. But that's where the Kabuki came from. It's the squat face. It is putting your game day face on and walking the walk and becoming that person.
And so many people resonate with that too. Like you, again, still the only guy ever to squat and deadlift over 1,000 pounds and actually doing them for reps. I've heard you say in multiple interviews, though, that it wasn't hard doing it. Like, everybody would probably think, like, rep being that amount of weight for an exercise that's difficult on its own. If you're putting like 245s on each side, it could be difficult for somebody, but you're doing it for 1,000 pounds and you're saying it wasn't even hard in the process.
But it was impossible at the same time.
Really?
The training that I had to endure leading up to it, to be able to pull it off, is just mind-numbingly stupid.
Yeah.
And that's why. So imagine, let's take the well, there I am. That's 1,002 deadlift. I did that, but the training leading into that. Let's talk about the last few months. I was pulling between 900 to 950 in weight for 12 to 15 total repetitions in one workout once a week, and then another workout pulling between 850 to 900 while standing on blocks, making the range of motion greater 12 to 15 times. So that was done. It's 2 sessions twice a week on the squat. Those last few months I had worked up to. So every week I was doing a total of 8 to 9 repetitions, not including the warm-up weights, but just the weight and load that I was calculating. The average in the final week was around 985 pounds for 8 to 9 repetitions. And every week leading into that, it was 5 to 7 pounds, they were jumps. So it started around 930 pounds and started working up to where you're doing 3 sets of, 3 reps week over week with an average load of 950, then 955, then 960, then and over and over. So when you're preparing for an event for like this, there's a super compensation period. So when you're doing this stuff, fatigue is accumulating. And so think about this from a business aspect, from a life, from a stressor standpoint of everything, right? So when you're in the moment and everything's piling on you, you're working, but the fatigue is accumulating faster than you have the time to recover from it. And let's go back. I'm going to tie this. Maybe we don't get into the credibility thing. I hope we do. But we need to dive into this right now. Okay. So the fatigue is accumulating faster than your recovery, right? But you're still getting stronger, but you're not actually able to realize what you're truly capable of, because you're going to have a rebound every time this is adaptation as a whole. When you put stress on the body, it's going to come back stronger and more resilient. Okay. But if we wait too long, you can't layer it. So you'll just if you go to the gym and work out, heavy ass workout every 3 months, you'll be the same person 10 years from now.
Right.
You've got to layer it. Right. So you're going to come back and train again before you're fully recovered, but now you've got a little bit of fatigue. So you could have lifted a little more weight. You could have done a little bit more, but that allows you to stair step it and ladder it up. Right. But then you get to the time that you want to realize it. Now you take a little bit longer of a break and you kind of bleed into it so that you have that big leap. And all of a sudden you're way stronger and you can accomplish way more. Well, let's think those last few weeks, I was squatting 985 pounds for 9 repetitions each week. And then I took, a week and a half of light work. So not no work, but allowing my body, stimulating the recovery processes, but a little bit longer period of time, let that fatigue taper away. And then I jumped out there and I did only 3 reps.
Wow.
Right. So the load was actually way less. The intensity was a little bit higher, but that allowed me to do something that I couldn't have done on one of those other days.
Yeah.
But this is life as a whole. So this is why, pushing yourself, stepping into uncomfort, being in the grind is good, but not too much. Okay. Because when you go spend a day at the beach or a week or whatever it is, you take your time, maybe whatever your space is, whatever it is that your yoga, whatever, I don't care. You feel re-energized. Great weekend with the family. I just went to Arizona for a week and sat by the pool with the family. just before Labor Day. You come back just re-energized, refreshed. But if you do that all the time, you're not going to be re-energized, refreshed, because it's just going to be like you just spent 3 months not lifting weights. You're going to get weak. You actually get weaker because you're not putting any stress on the body. And it doesn't matter the type of stress. This is life at its whole is adaptation. So the grass growing outside my window, the trees, like everything out here is responding and working against the environment, the struggle. And if that's not there, there's actually nothing to stimulate it. And so that's why, and I use this analogy, you're going to quite a bit, but you break your arm. You put it in a cast, you cut out of a cast. What is it? It's atrophied away. The process of death starts right away. So this taking that time. So it's all about like making sure that you've got those micro elements, that you're not constantly pushing and burning the calendar at both ends. Because if I just pushed it every last thing in that training, like I had, like, pushed it too hard, I would have been to the point where I couldn't recover. The fatigue would have gone too much. And then all of a sudden I would start this downward spiral. It's like you see this with runners a lot. Like the answer is always running more. It's like, I'm getting slow. Well, let's go run some more to fix it. And next thing you know, you've got knee and feet problems and so on. So it is this balance, but you have to understand you need to be in it. And as business and even entrepreneurs, like you're always like, I'm going to get to that point where I'm going to sell the business and I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire early. I'm going to retire at 50. I'm going to do what, like, you never want to get there because then you're setting so if we understand that this is base level physiology for every living being, for every type of stress, don't let yourself get soft. Don't let yourself get weak. Resilience is key. And so it's important when you're feeling that you're on top of the world and you have everything in control and you're just cruising. This is great. Don't cruise too long because you don't want it that easy.
Right. And you just chasing it alone. You've talked about it before. Like those are like the quote unquote glory days. Like it's not going to be the destination, like the journey, whether you appreciate it in the moment or not, you're going to look back and be like, man, those were the best days of my life, even though they don't necessarily feel like them right now.
Yeah, this is a reminder I give my staff quite a bit because sometimes you're just like, especially those early, like everybody's under so much stress and you're just waiting to get to that day. Like, oh, we're going to get to that and we're going to IPO or we're going to do that. Like everything's going to it'll be easy then. Right. And you see that, but like, go talk to anybody that's been through like the growth phase, the startup, but it happened 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Everybody that's been in that company that was through that and then made it to the easy phase is the stories they're going to tell are all going to be about the glory days. But if you asked them at the time, they'd been, I can't wait till we get through this. It's so hard. This is, oh man, I don't know if I can make it. Like, but then that's going to end up being the highlight of your life, the thing that you always look back to. Like, tell me I'm wrong because I'm not. Like, you're going to go read Phil Knight's book. Right. And you listen to the struggle of all those early years. And that's the book. Like, it's like, that was such an amazing time. And that was an amazing time for everybody that worked there. Like there was these experiences and growth. Right. And so sometimes when you're in the middle of that fucking hard shit, remember, you're in the middle of your fucking glory days.
That's a strong message too.
Enjoy that. It is. And it's the damn straight truth.
And you talk about a lot of this, as well as your own personal stuff in your book, The Eagle and the Dragon. I know you're writing a new one currently, too, that you're working on. But, The Eagle and the Dragon, it starts with basically the tattoo you have, right?
Yeah. So you can see on the front, you can see the eagle that's on my stomach. There used to be another eagle on my back. And they're both chained. And the chain wraps all the way down around to my ankle. And they're shackled to my ankle. And I had this tattoo done. At 19 years old, it was 40 hours worth of ink work that I started getting done at 19 years old. And it meant to me, it represented things that I hadn't done yet, right? Sure, I'd had some accomplishment, I was 19, I was in college, but really, like, I hadn't done like big things. I'd done some athletic things, but it was all that level. But I knew, I'm like, that you can climb to whatever heights that you want in this world. Like, at the end of the day, the only thing holding you back is yourself. And so that realization is really important for you, to help you to realize and find the strengths, the capabilities that you have in this world. And so I did this massive near whole body tattoo as a reminder to myself about that. And then I went and did it. I did it for the next 20 years. I became a world, like in business, I led at a world-class level. I did the same thing with athletic endeavors. I create, and then my hobbies, like everything, I just took to that level. And and then, my late 30s, I'm sitting there, I'm going, shit, man, I had a lot of success. I created the freaking American dream, man. This boy from the mountains, from the sticks, with a rattlesnake in his hand, living in a tree fort. Like, I did it. I made the American dream. And I'm like, but it wasn't my dream.
Right.
It wasn't my dream. And I'm like, who the fuck am I? And I spent a couple years like really struggling to that answer. And maybe it wasn't finding who I am. I decided who I am. I said, Chris, you are this person, and this is who you're gonna be in the world. And I called up my tattoo artist and I said, I want a giant Ouroboros. Make me look like a fucking Viking king. I want this dragon head across my back, on my chest, and I want the whole thing wrapping around my body, bigger than you can believe, across my back, everywhere. I said, I'm shirtless on video all the time. I want it to be striking. I want it to be in people's faces, like just this big contrast, a white space to you can't deny it. It's not going to get lost in anything else. So I want an Ouroboros. I want this thing to show that you're eating of the old and becoming the new, that in this world, you get to decide, you can decide who exactly you're going to be and what impact you're going to leave on this world. So it's no longer about like finding your strengths. It's about saying, this is who I am, the world I'm going to create around me, and becoming that person, shedding that skin, eating yourself, becoming new. And it's a never ending process from there. And so another 40 hour tattoo as my second tattoo, wrapping my whole upper body. And that is what I embarked on. So I had that done. And then shortly, within the year, I walked away from my job. I walked away from my lifting. I did massive personal changes in my life. And this is who I'm going to be. And you know what? I don't have degrees, and I got tons of fucking degrees, but I'm a leading expert on biomechanics and rehab in the world. I educate at the highest level. That I create products. I've got, back there on the world, I got an award for scientific innovation next to my Guinness World Record that I did after that too. I did that. I chose who the hell I'm going to be and the mark that I'm going to leave on this world, and created everything that I needed to do in the environment that I needed to do to have that happen.
And, whether it be the tattoo or,
God, that sounds really fucking egotistical,
right?
man. Oh man, that sounds really fucking egotistical.
And that's like the exact
I'm trying to share
I'm
trying to share a message, and I'm like, it's walking the walk too. Like, I'm not, this gets to the credibility thing, right?
Right.
You can have this, be the smartest person, you be the most eloquent speaker, you can have all this stuff, but people better know where you're coming from. They've got to trust you. You've got to be like, I'm interrupting you. I'm bouncing forward to the credibility thing. Let me just hit it really fast and go back to your question. I'll just do a quick overview. The why. People got to believe in your why. You've got to walk the walk and demonstrate it with your own actions, right? And you've got to be authentic. Like, people have to trust you and know that you're grounded, and that when they're talking to you, that it's a real thing, that where you're coming from, and that those interactions are. So those are like in all this builds trust, which is the center of it. They may hate you, right? But they trust you. They know where you're coming from, know why you're doing it, and you're not just, saying go to do it. You can walk the walk, and you do so.
No, I mean, it's all good stuff, man. Talking about, again, it's kind of like the same purpose of you getting the tattoo that not only represents a symbol and a message, but you're basically telling yourself, this is who I'm going to be because this is the version I'm supposed to be. And if it doesn't work out, I have no safety net. Like you said, you took out everything, like 20 years worth of revenue saved up. You put it all on the line.
And people go, well, you could just go back to that career. Like, well, yeah, but I forgot to mention in that dissertation there, the little bit of, I personally guaranteed millions of dollars worth of debt, so that if I fail, I'm still going to be living in this damn apartment the rest of my life, even though, I'm making 300 grand or whatever a year, doing something like, there's no way out. I'm all in. I'm either winning or I'm winning.
That's right. And you put yourself in that situation too, because not only were you disciplined enough to want to do something like that, but you were prepared enough and smart enough, having all of those experiences in whether it be childhood, in school, as an athlete, doing whatever you're doing, and you apply them to who you are now. Like all those experiences that weren't necessarily the true version of you, like they were passionate things, but not necessarily like the you that you wanted to be. You utilize those to not only serve others, but again, like make a product in business, or being a father, being a husband, and applying all of those things to be the best version of yourself.
And that's a very critical message here, because this ties right back to my training, the layering. Like, you're not going to be there out of the gate. Like, if you're heading down the wrong path or doing something, like, understand the struggle and the process and everything is all making, as long as you stay at it, is giving you the skills, the confidence, even when you fail, because you're going to come back around and figure out a way to win. So many, especially with social media, it's like, I should be success instantly. Like, how do I build a brand and like do this? And it's like, dude, you're 19, 20 years old. Like, just get in and start learning the skills and getting, like, it's okay. Like in the training world, I tell people, they're like, how do I become, a media personality and an online trainer? And it's like, go get a fucking job at 24 Hour Fitness and learn how to train people and how to communicate. All right. Like, but I thought, like, no, like, go do that for 5 years. Okay. Because those skills are going to, if you can't do that, you're not going to run a team. You're not going to be able to coach somebody online if you can't coach them in person. You're not going to be able to just like lean in, take some hard shit.
Right. Like get a finance gig if you know nothing about money. Like, I don't want to work in that.
And it's okay. Learn on somebody else's dime. Like, this is a big, if you're born to be an entrepreneur and you're just going to go, like, there's people that have made, but like, hey, I knew for a long time I was going to launch my own business. I knew it from the longest. I mean, from when I was in college in the 90s, my friends were like, Chris, someday, you're going to be, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And they're like, I want to come to work for you. And, it's like, you could see it, you could feel it. And in like 2003, I was building my first squat rack with a buddy. And I said, this is the first squat rack of what's going to be an epic gym that people around the globe are going to come to. 2003, wow. Right? That's how many, 18 years before we're talking about now, right? And it was just a home gym, and I built that, and I had three friends that came and trained, right? Just, yeah.
Now, did you know that at the time? Like, okay, I'm going to need all of these years worth built up experience in order to accomplish this? Or in that mindset in 2003, like, this is what I want to do. And did you jump right into it? Like, did you have to learn along the way?
I learned, so at the same time, I'm working and I'm learning and advancing my leadership skills. I remember one of my good friends, I mean, he's an executive at, Fortune 500 company now, doing like helping them with, oh, we're going to do a 500 million acquisition or whatever. He was an engineer friend of mine. And he came to me. I got a lot of friends like this that come to me through the years for, advice on life. And I said, hey, why don't you get a job as make a shift from being an engineer to supervisors? Why would I do that? That's like vertical. And actually the top salary is lower than what I can earn over here. What if you step down? I'm like, dude, you need to learn. Like, you have so much potential. And he's another friend like me. He'd known for like want to have his own business long term. And I said, you need to learn. He's like, no, I've managed people before. And I'm like, dude, you've project managed. Like, they didn't report to you. And then a year after, he's like, he did it. And a year later, he's like, holy cow, I had no idea what I had yet to learn. He's like, that was so much. And then, it was the next thing. Then he came to me a few years later and for another job that was an operations manager. It was kind of a vertical move. And I said, you need to go here. This is another step. It's more challenging, but you're now making a step into the larger corporate world. The person that's the general manager, plant manager in those big worlds, they turn them over every 2 to 3 years. So you're going to go in, you're going to take that role, and you still have. And so it slowly guided him on this path where, he would have topped out as just being an engineer manager somewhere, and now he's freaking, an exec in a Fortune 500 company, right? I live in the Portland metro area. A lot of the plant managers, general managers in this area for larger companies, people that worked for me in the past, pushing people to go in those boundaries, but they're pushing them to learn on someone else. Because could you like learning all of that, like being in, like, I have so much experience managing projects, managing people, working with like leading HR, doing like all this stuff, that if I was going to learn that up front, it would cost me so much in the mistakes and the failures in my own business, versus knowing, bam, boom, boom, boom. And now I can focus on the things that I want to, instead of like learning the rudimentary shit that I could have learned somewhere else. So it's okay to not be an entrepreneur, and you're going to be adding value to those companies while you do it. Now, but it's a free freaking master's degree, man. Like, what? You're getting paid free, and you're getting paid for it. You'll get a salary.
You're getting paid to learn.
Exactly.
Which is a very cool thing that
There's
a lot of people don't look at it that way.
Cut your teeth for 5 or 10 years. I did it for almost 20, but
Now you're writing a new book too, right? And
yes.
You're kind of talking about the likes of, goal setting, leadership you talked about, as well as executing on it, the execution part of it.
Yes.
So do you have a name for it?
Create shit. Do shit. Nice. Live beyond the extremes, my friend.
That's going to be the name?
That's the name.
That's incredible. Now, is it going to be about those three things?
Yeah. That's the trifecta. The unconventional executive's guide to business and life. And you just named the three things, because I see so many like leadership or business books out there, and they focus on just these subsets, and it's like it's always triples. I talked about the right tools, the right methods, and the right environment. Like, to be a successful leader, and you need to have leadership skills, but to lead, you got to go somewhere. You got to have some really good goal setting ability to really peel back those layers and understand like your root values, and aligning this with your life and how you go about doing this. And then like, how do you actually like make this shit? What is the actual like nuts and bolts pieces of creating what I call policy deployment strategy? But it's like literally, how do you get every level of an organization tied together so that they can everything from the bottom is visible. You can see everything all the way up. And we've got this communication channel, but then the wheres and the whys and all that goes downward. And there's this flow through an organization. That shit doesn't just happen. Like, and so that's the three things that I walk through, that you gotta have all three.
And that's so important. And again, with everything that you've done regarding all of this, everything that you went through to get to this point, whether it be, your childhood growing up in the woods, facing obstacles not only in school but in business, overcoming, mental health, literally telling yourself, I know what's best for me and I know what I want to accomplish, leaving a quote unquote good life behind in order to do it. and get to the point where you are inspiring thousands upon thousands of people, not only with what you're doing in business, but also sharing your life experiences with people, which not a lot of people can do every day. And I'm going to assume that alarm that just went off means that you got a meeting in about 5 minutes here. So I won't take too much of your time here. I hope we can do this again sometime. There's so much more I'd love to pick your brain about.
There's a lot of levels I'd love to drop in, and you're doing an excellent podcast. So I would definitely be up for doing another piece and diving into some other areas with you, my friend.
Well, Chris, thanks for being gracious enough to hop on again. The Eagle and the Dragon you can get now. You got your new book coming out fairly soon. It's in the works anyways, talking about it a little bit right there. But Chris Duffin, thanks again, man.
I've got a great, so you just go to my personal website, ChristopherDuffin.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get updates on the new book coming out. But I'm also going to give you the first half of my book, The Eagle. And I'd love, go back and buy the book, please. But if not, I want to share it. Like, it's free. Just sign up for the newsletter, free. It'll get sent to you via email, along with exclusive discounts to my companies, which are Kabuki Strength, Barefoot Athletics for the absolute best in footwear for people that use their whole bodies, and Build Fast Formula for people that want to take that extra step of pushing things further with adding supplementation on top of training and diet. And you'll get exclusive discounts, all those exclusive educational content. And like I said, the first half of my book for free. There's a link to the Audible on there as well. And so if you don't have an Audible account, you can actually get my book for free on there, as well as another book, but it does require you like signing up for an account. So it's not like free, but it is a pretty cool deal. But there is the free version too. But if you love it, encourage you to actually get the whole book and the second half, but make your call. I'll give it to you for free.
Well, thank you very much, Chris.
This is why you're still doing. All you got to do, all I want from you, just fill out the email so I can send it to you.
And this is why you're still very passionate about what you do and why it's succeeding, because you care about other people, you're serving other people, you're providing value as well as fulfilling your true purpose in life, which is awesome to see, man.
That is our entire mission, like, is to help people live a better quality of life and development of resilience, man. Like, people don't, and that's like why I wrote my book, man, is my business is on the physical aspect. Like, there's not money in being an author, by the way. Maybe if you're like a J.K. Rowling's or that level, those people, but especially if you give your book away for free,
right?
But it's to address that other side, because so many people see trauma and bad struggle and hardship and I want people to say there's a really positive underbelly to this stuff, and in fact, so much don't turn into trauma, but turn into the challenge. And so that is my purpose, man, and I want to share that with the world.
Well, I'm going to use that word again, unpack. We got a lot to unpack at a later date, hopefully, when we can do this again. Hopefully, after your second book comes out. And again, would love to talk more about endurance and the Kabuki strength side of things, the business side of things, and what you guys got going on and what you're looking to provide. So again, Chris, thanks again. Where can we follow you on social media?
Oh, yeah, just type in Chris Duffin on the social platforms. So the ones I'm most active on is Instagram. So I'll have the little blue check on there. Facebook, I'll have the little blue check, and LinkedIn. I'm actually fairly active on LinkedIn just because of, I work with 90% of the professional sports teams and college, all the colleges and everything. So it seems like an odd social platform, but I actually spend a fair bit of time there too.
Beautiful, man. Well, get to your meeting. I won't take you for too long, but this was episode 411 with Chris Duffin. We are presented by these guys right here, Mayweather Boxing and Fitness. Zach, hit your close, brother.